is what we will actually do next. So let me just exit out of this presentation. All right. So hopefully you can see my screen. And what I'll do now is I'll go and navigate to Copilot Studio. So what you do here is you enter this URL. That is our Copilot Studio. Let me just do that. Okay. Go to home. All right. So first thing I want to mention is that, and I hope you can see it, let me know if you do not. First thing I will mention that you need to connect to the correct environment. In the top right corner, you see that I have access and logged in as myself, and I have access to multiple environments that are eligible for us to create our agents in. So you need to make sure that you are working in the correct environment. You may have environments for UAT, testing, development, production environments, etc. So you have to make sure that the bot is created in the correct environment by selecting it in the top right corner. All right. Now, I'll show you how easy it is to create a basic agent that will help us to get some travel information, right? And to do that, I'll just scroll to the right, scroll down, and I will use one of those templates. That's the easiest way for us to jumpstart our creation, just basically selecting a template and modify it as we need to. So here is the template that we'll use, Safe Travel. So this agent is supposed to provide answers to common travel questions and related health and safety guidelines. So let's just do that. I'm going to click on that. So first thing you need to do is decide on the name. It's automatically assigned Safe Travels Copilot. We can change the icon. You will see when it comes to play. Here's the description that I just read that provides a common answers, etc. Instructions. And on the bottom here, you see that by default, it's connected to one knowledge source. It's US travel website. All right, we can click on here and we can go to open, and it points us to a public website by the government of the United States where we can get information about passport, international travel, visas, etc. All right. So that's basically a prepackaged template that we can easily deploy, and I'll do that by clicking on Create. All right, so that's where the system is now going to go and generate that Copilot. So the first thing we'll take a look is how can we make that bot or agent a bit smarter and maybe pull information from an additional sources, right? Because we may just want not necessarily concentrate on traveling for US citizen. Maybe we want to do it for for Canadians as well. So what I'll do here is I'll show you how we can go and add another data source. So in here, we click on the knowledge on the top pane right there. Here's that US travel website that we already looked at, right? It's right there. So that's one of the sources that this agent currently has. What I'll do is click on the add knowledge. And here are the options that are available to me. Public website, files, we already discussed that. I can also point to the SharePoint, Dataverse, or connect to other databases. What I'll mention here is that the user will only be able to get the answers from the Copilot if the data source if he has an access to the data source. So for example, if I connect at a SharePoint, but I as a user do not have access to that SharePoint site, I will not be able to get any answers from the Copilot that are grounded to the knowledge inside of that SharePoint site. So that's kind of an important thing. For the public websites, because they are open to everyone, of course, there is no such restriction. So keep that in mind. Same thing goes to the Dataverse. So grounding your agent in the corporate data that is not publicly available requires that the user that will be using that agent has access, can authenticate themselves within that data source. All right. So let's come back to our demo, right? We already have one US website as the knowledge. Now I'm going to click on the public website, and here I will just copy this URL, which is for Canadian government travel advisory website. So it's a travel.gc.ca. And I'm going to click on add. In here, that's a good idea to give it a name. Right now, just a copy of the website, but I will say Canadian travel info, right? And I will just click on add. So this is basically a simple way to introduce an additional data source. All right. So with that being said, let's just kind of do some testing, right? So that's where I will show you, well, how do we know which knowledge is our agent using when it answers our questions? Because I think this will help a user to be more confident in the answers that they're providing. So if they know the reasoning or the source that was used, that will help me as the user of that agent to trust the information that I'm receiving from it. All right. So in order to do that, we will use this pane on the right-hand side. And you can see it basically allows us to test our Copilot. And the first thing I'll show you guys is just how interactive or how dynamic it is. So first of all, without doing anything, I see this message right here. Hello, I'm a Safe Travels Copilot virtual assistant. Just so you're aware, sometimes I use AI, and there is some sort of message. So where is that message coming from? I think that will be quite useful for us to understand. Well, it comes in from a topic. And again, what are the topics? If we click on the topics right here, we see some custom topics that are used in different stages of conversation, but also some system topics, right? So what are the topics? So the topics are basically conversation guides, right? So they are triggered at certain point in time, and they provide certain information, ask certain questions, or provide certain answers. So when was that this message? When was this triggered then? So if I click on the message itself in my Copilot Studio, this is quite handy. If I click on the message itself, okay, it will go and point us to the correct. Just may refresh this. If I click on it right now, it will take me to this conversation start topic automatically because it tells us that this message comes in from that topic. How do I know? Well, why it isn't coming? Because the trigger right here on the top is basically saying on conversation start. I have different triggers and we will use them throughout our demo, but this specific topic is triggered by the mere fact that we're starting the Copilot or we're starting that agent. And in here, all this topic does, once it's triggered, it's sending a message, which is that second block on the bottom. And we can look at this message right here. We can just expand it. And this is exactly the same message we see on the right-hand side. So basically, this topic is triggered when we start the conversation. And it just gives that information, basically setting up expectations on what this agent can do and how it behaves, etc. And we can modify it right here. And you can see that, for example, the name of it, so it says Safe Travels Copilot, is actually introduced as the variable, right? So if I rename my agent, then this message will be also modified because it's now going to display a new name of my agent. All right. But also, if you notice, if I go back to topics, I have different topics that also triggered at different stages of a conversation. For example, if the answer that the Copilot receives requires an escalation, it can activate this escalate topic. If the user wants to end the conversation, then we will activate the feedback topic to gather the feedback, maybe how would you rate your experience? There is a topic that can be triggered at sign in, at the end of the conversations, etc. So I hope you're getting the sense of what these topics do. For example, I can have a topic on the greeting, right? So for example, if I open this specific greeting topic, again, all of it was created automatically. It's triggered when we use one of those phrases, good afternoon, good morning, hello, hey, hi, again, or any other similar phrase. So if I, for example, type in, say, hello, agent, I guess, right? So it's, again, I'm trying to use the words that are not exactly matching to those key phrases. You can see that it's triggering this, it's sending me this message. Hello, how can I assist you with your travel plans today? And if I click on this message, it will take me to this specific topic. In this case, it's this unknown intent topic, which is quite different. But if I say, for example, hello, all right, so now it's taking me to this greeting topic. It triggered this topic because it sensed one of the keywords that are specified in the top block. And then it just sends this simple message, hello, how can I help you today? And that's exactly the same message we see chatbot provides to us, right? And then it ends this topic. So this is just kind of an introduction on different standard topics that were auto-deployed, auto-created when I created this agent using a template, right? So a lot of topics were auto-deployed. Again, just I will show them to you all. And these topics kind of are activated by different phrases, by different events. And then they either ask specific questions or provides answers or just provide some sort of information, right? And I will show you then at the end of the demo how we can create our own topic that will also be triggered. All right, but now let's just go and ask a specific question about some travels that we're planning to do. So what I'll do here is I will just copy it and ask the question, is it safe? I don't know if I probably spell it incorrectly. Is it safe to travel to USA as a Canadian citizen? So you can see that I'm asking it from a perspective of a Canadian citizen, because I don't want to know, like, is it safe for me to travel, for example, as a person from Europe, right? So I will ask this question, I'm going to send, right? So now what I expect a bot to do is to provide me an answer, but also reference a knowledge source when it answers to me. And right here we see this. Okay, so what does it say? Is it safe on? All right, so the retrieved document do not provide specific information. Interesting. So what about if I ask a question about, is it safe to travel to Germany as the Canadian citizen, right? So okay, so right here it gives me the answer. Traveling to Germany as a Canadian citizen requires exercising increased caution due to the risk of terrorism, and a bunch of information right there. But what's important here is I have this two references. And if I click on one of those references, it's going to take me to US website, which is not what I expected. But also, if you look at the second reference, it should point me to that travel.gc.ca website that I added as my knowledge source, and it gives me information about traveling to Germany, right? But just to see how consistent that is, I'm going to ask the same question again. Is it safe to travel to USA as the Canadian citizen? And the answer I expect is that it should go to Canadian website and it should tell me that it is safe. You can travel to United States as a Canadian citizen, you're allowed to drive, etc., etc. And we see those two references. So, and again, one of them, it should be the Canada.gc.ca website. Okay, so this demonstrates that the answer was grounded in the knowledge that we explicitly added to the Copilot, our agent. Right? What about if we rephrase it and maybe ask question as an American, right? So my question right now, is it okay to travel to France as an American, right? So here, I'm going to send it to my chatbot. Okay, and the information we get, if you decide to travel to France, be aware of surroundings when traveling to tourist locations and large crowded spaces, avoid demonstrations in areas, but also one reference, right? If you can see that reference that is mentioned in that reply, if I click on it, again, it points me to my second knowledge source, which is that United States government website, travel.state.gov, right? So that gives me a sense of comfort saying that I know where the information is coming from. All right. So in here, we see that we asked questions from the Canadian and US perspective. And in both of those cases, the Copilot was able to provide us the answers and reference the data sources, those public websites that were added as the knowledge sources for our agent, right? But what about if I ask maybe a generic question that is not covered in any of those two public websites that I've added to as my knowledge source, right? So let me do that. I will just go and maybe ask how many, okay, let me just specify here, how many NHL teams in Canada? All right. So again, I don't expect that neither of those two sites have the information about NHL teams, but I get an answer here anyway. As of current NHL season, there are 7 NHL teams based in Canada. These teams are right here and gives me a list. But you might see the difference here is there is no references here. So that's the main difference. So that tells me that the knowledge sources were not actually used to generate this answer. So the question then becomes is, well, where the information comes from and why the Copilot, the agent, was able to answer that question for me, right? Well, and let me just show you another question. For example, who is the host of Jeopardy, right? Again, not mentioned in any of those two public websites, but I'm going to ask this question here. And I say, as of now, Jeopardy has 2 main hosts, this person and this person, right? So, and again, no references are mentioned here. So now we need to understand how was the Copilot able to provide an answers. They look like a correct answers, but I don't see the references. So in order to do that, again, we just click on the message here, and it's going to take us to the topic that was activated to provide that answer. And you see that the topic that was activated called conversational boosting. This conversational boosting topic is triggered on unknown intent. That means the Copilot was not able to find a better topic that fits the phrases that we have feed it, and it decided to activate this topic. So this topic is activated when the intent of the user of that chat is not known. And actually use this create generative answer node right here. And if I click on it, just to see the properties of it, so this create generative answer, you see that I have this allow the AI to use its own general knowledge option was activated. So that's the most important piece right here. We basically are saying that, well, we allow AI to generate its own answers. And that saves a great amount of time, because now that Copilot becomes much more useful, because it's not only grounded on information found in those two public websites, but it can also go and use its own knowledge to provide relevant answers to the user. But what's important for the user to understand is that right now that information may be less trusted because it's not grounded in a specific knowledge sources that we have specified. And we can definitely tell that by seeing that there are no references mentioned in that answer. And just to show you the difference is if I deactivate this, right, and say, do not allow AI to use its own general knowledge and save that Copilot, right? Just make sure that it did indeed save, because sometimes it just jumps back. Yeah, so this option is deactivated. And now I'm going to ask the same question, who is the host of Jeopardy, for example. You see that the message I'm getting is no information was found. And then it gives you that answer again, but that is because it actually has a bug that I noticed, that it just sends it back. Sometimes you have to deactivate it twice almost, right? So if, for example, if you say this, you see the information, no information was found, even though we asked the same question, and then it gives you that, which is quite strange. But again, I assume it's kind of will be fixed soon. So that's the difference in behavior, because I do not allow AI to use its own knowledge. It just says, well, I cannot really find anything about the Jeopardy hosts in the two public websites that are set as knowledge in a Copilot. Hence, I will just display that message to you. Right. So that's an importance of this checkbox that is connected to this create generative answers node that is part of our conversational boosting topic. Okay. So hope that makes sense, right? So hope you kind of understand how easy it is to create a Copilot, how easy it is to add some knowledge to it, and how that knowledge can be used to answer questions, or how the general AI knowledge can be used also to answer these questions. Okay. So that's about the first part of my demo. The second part of the demo will concentrate on how can we orchestrate a specific behavior when certain types of questions are asked. And in order for us to do that, we will need to create a new topic ourselves from scratch using this designer right here. And think of a topic, because I was always trying to find an equivalent of a topic in my head. To me, the topic is just the conversation guide. It just basically, and the topic that we're about to create will help a user to create a travel plan, right? So I will break down the topic we're about to create into three parts. The first part is when the topic is activated. When should we activate the topic? That's the first part. The second part of our topic would be what will that topic ask a user? So what kind of questions will the user need to answer? That's the second part. And the third part of our topic we're about to build will be how will AI Copilot answer those questions that the user provided, the user answered, right? So when the topic is activated, what questions are asked, and how those questions are answered. More or less, that's basically the intent of our custom topic we're about to create now. And again, this topic is going to be used to help a user to create a travel plan. All right, so hope that is clear. So let us just proceed with this demo. So what I'll do here is I'm still inside my Save Travels Copilot. I will click on the topics and I will click on Add a Topic. Here you have two options. Again, it's a basic demo, so let's just kind of, for our own understanding, just to get comfortable with functionality, let's just go and create a new topic from scratch. So from blank. So I'm going to do that. So this is what you are provided with. Is just first is when that topic should be activated. You see the trigger right here. And the triggers can be different ones. There are certain messages that are received, certain phrases that are mentioned, certain events that are received, etc. So you see there is kind of quite a large list of different trigger types that can be used. In our case, we want to activate this topic when the user mentions words travel plan or something similar to the travel plan. All right, so how do we do that? We click on the edit and we're going to enter the number of phrases. So the first one is help me to create a travel plan. All right. And then I will just add travel plan. And again, you don't have to enter a lot of phrases, but just think about which phrases can user mention for us to say, oh, they want to create a travel plan, maybe just, travel itinerary or things like that, right? So add those words so the AI can be as precise, saying, oh yeah, I know for sure that we need to activate that topic because a number of those key phrases was used. In this case, I will just say, help me to create a travel plan, travel itinerary, and things like that. So we basically accomplished the first step of our topic creation. We specified when this topic should be activated. It should be activated when user mentions phrases related to travel plan. That's basically it. All right. The second part of our topic would be asking user a question. So now we're putting our heads in, all right, so we know for sure user wants us to help with travel plan. What should we ask? Well, we should ask a question. And that's where I'm clicking on the plus sign here. And you see that I can ask a question, which is one by one. So I can ask a question about, well, tell me which destination do you want to go? Tell me how many activities are you planning to do there? Things like that. So I can do that. Or to ask multiple questions at the same time, I can use something that is called adaptive card. Don't get too scared. Just think of an adaptive card as the way to ask multiple questions at the same time, right? I'm going to click on that node, and I need to build that adaptive card. And that's where some experience with JSON would be required. But basically, I need to go and populate it with the predefined JSON that I have created beforehand. So just bear with me. I'm going to copy and paste it, right? So it's a JSON. It's really kind of, where is it coming from? Well, it's just coming from the demo data, I guess. But what happens is when I populated that JSON in my adaptive card, you see the two questions. So first of all, I see a message. Well, we need a little bit more info from you to get you some recommendations. Okay. Then it's asking two questions. Where are you going to? And how many activities are you looking for? And then there's a submit button. So basically the user will be seeing this message about, well, we need more info, tell us the destination, tell us the number of activities, and there is a submit button once you're ready. But what's important also is that we will capture the outputs. We basically capture the answers that the user provides. And those are the answers about the destination. And it has this destination variable right here, which is a string, because we expect words like, Spain or Antarctica, things like that. And then a number, which is a string variable, right? So we're basically creating two variables that will capture the output of that adaptive card. And we will store them as the variables, and then we will use those variables down the stream. Okay, so that's probably the most kind of complicated piece here, because this JSON kind of is a bit technical. But what I'll say is, don't be scared, because the same thing could have been accomplished by asking two questions. I could have asked the first question, well, tell me about the destination, and capture the answer in one variable. And then I would ask a follow-up question about the number of activities that user plans to do, and I capture it as the secondary output. All right, so that's basically the second part of our topic. What questions are asked? And you see right here that we are asking two questions, and we're capturing the answers in two variables that we have created. All right. So now what we will do is we will then need to get these answers and do something with them. And to do something with them, we actually click on the sign, and we will click on the call an action, I think, and we will create a prompt. So now we will create a prompt asking AI this question, because we got the answers, but we now need to activate AI to generate an answer. All right, so I'm going to click on the call an action and create a prompt. All right, so it's going to open that prompt editor for me. Just wait a bit. Sometimes it takes time. All right. So I need to specify the prompt name. Let's say I will call it travel plan. Okay. Now I need to provide the prompt. So what will I ask AI? Well, I will just copy this text, and this prompt saying like this. So please give me a number of options for activities in destination for people who are there for the first time. Please return a numbered list with emojis in the name of the activity and give it a brief description. So this is what I will ask AI on behalf of a user. All right. But you see that the number and destination are kind of placeholders. I need to replace those with actual inputs from the user, right? Because I need to provide an input to a user that we captured from the user. So to do that, on the right-hand side, there is an input section, and I will add the first input. I will call the first input destination. One second. Where's that thing? Destination. Okay, what's the number? Let's do number. Number. That's our first input, and the sample data will be, let's say, 3. All right. And then I will click on add input, and my second input will be destination, and the sample data will be, let's say, Calgary, for example, right? So why do I need to provide the sample data? I need to sample data to test the prompt. So here's a button on the left-hand side that I can click to test the prompt, and the results will be returned to me on the bottom. So I'm going to click on test prompt, and I'm just kind of want to understand how will the AI behave when I'm asking about 3 activities in Calgary recommendation. And here's the response. Well, sure, here are the 3 options of activities in Calgary for people who are there for the first time. So explore Banff National Park, great place. I've been there, recommended. Visit Calgary Zoo, the second activity, or discover Glenbow Museum. Haven't been there. But if I change the sample data to, let's say, 5 and change the sample destination to, let's say, Toronto, or just even be generic, let's say, Spain, right? And click on the test prompt, you see that I will get different results. First of all, I will get recommendations on the Spain, and I will get 5 of those. But you see the emojis are used. It understands that we're there for the first time. So great. In testing, that prompt works exactly how I expected. The only thing that is missing now is I need to go and replace those placeholders with actual inputs from the user, right? So in here, I will click on insert, and that's where I will insert my number input. And in here, I will replace that destination input, and I will insert the destination input. All right. So this is my prompt. Well, I have 2 inputs, number and destination. And now I basically am done with this prompt, except for one few things. So first of all, I mean, if you look at here, you can see which data we can use to answer that. Output is going to be a text, some settings about how accurate the answer should be. Should it be 0 means very strict, very to the point, or if you start raising the temperature, then the AI can become a bit more creative and start using maybe some more creative ideas, right? But in this case, we want to be very strict, saying, well, here's a number of activities, destination, be very specific, no creativity allowed. That's why the temperature is there. But you can also here, we can use different models. Right now it's using GPT 3.5, it can use 4.0, etc. Right? So there are a few things that we can configure when we are prompting AI to answer this question. All right. But you may notice saying, well, Alexei, but how exactly will I populate those 2 inputs for my prompt? Because yeah, there's a number and there's a destination, but those inputs have to be answered. They have to be populated somehow, right? Well, that's exactly right. And if you look at this prompt that we have building right here, it's saying, well, in order for me to give you a correct answer, you need to provide me the inputs for the destination variable and the number variable. And in this case, I'm going to get those inputs from the previous step. Remember, the previous step, that adaptive card, asked me the questions about destination, number of activities, and I captured the answers in the variables. So now for the destination input, I will use the destination variable right there. That's the one that comes in from that adaptive card. And for the number variable, well, I'll click on the list. I will use that number variable that comes in from the adaptive card as well. So in this case, I'm feeding the prompt with 2 inputs that come in from 2 variables from the previous step. But also, it's important for me to capture the output, right? And in here, you see the output section, it says select the variable. I don't have a variable for the output of that prompt, hence I will just create one. So I will create a new variable that will capture the output of that AI prompt. So I'm going to click on create new variable. It's not very creative. It's going to create a new variable called var1, which is not very descriptive. I will call it prompt output. Okay, so, and I will just say that. Okay, so now I'm feeding my prompt values from 2 variables, and I'm capturing the prompt output in another variable called prompt output. And finally, just to make it display to a user, I need to add the final step. I click on the plus sign, and I'm going to say send a message. Right there is my send message block. It's very simple, saying, well, what message do you want to ask? I can just type in text here, which of course not very helpful, but I want to show here is my prompt output variable, because that's the one that will contain an answer from AI. So to do that, I will click on this insert variable button right there. Hope you can see that. Okay, and in here, I'll scroll and I need to find my prompt output text, right? There you see that it has like 3 variables that were auto-created: prompt output record, prompt output finish reason, which I don't really care about to see, and then prompt output text. So that's basically the answer itself in a text format. So I'm going to select that variable. So at the end, once the prompt generates an answer, the message will be sent to display that answer to a user. Okay, so that's basically it. So that's the third and final part of how how will the answers be answered, the questions will be answered. In the top left corner, I will just give my topic a proper name. Say, what is it? Travel planning, travel plan. Oh my goodness. Plan, because I want to make sure that the topic is well recognized. And then I'll save that topic, right? So now I have a travel plan topic. It's triggered when we mention words travel plan. It's asking questions about the destination and number of activities via the prompt. And then it uses the prompt to ask AI the same question and then displays that answers to me. So now let's test it, right? I'm going to do the same thing in my testing pane right here. And I will activate it by say, help with travel plan. Now you see this card added. And what I'll do here is I'll click on the message just to, again, remember, if I click on the message, it will point me to the topic that was activated. In this case, no surprise, my travel plan topic that I just created was activated. And it's asking me about where I'm going to go, let's say Toronto. And then how many activities I want to do. I mean, let's just go crazy, maybe go 20, right? I have a lot of time in Toronto and I want to do 20 things there. And I click on submit. So now the prompt is activated, inputs are provided. Interesting, it's only showing me up to 10. So now let's say visit the CN Tower, explore Royal Ontario Museum, scroll through Hyde Park, shop at St. Lawrence, and up to 10 activities. Interesting, I did not realize there is a limitation on the number of activities here. Maybe it's with my account. But what about if I change it to, I don't know, Paris, and then give me 3 activities in Paris? That again. So hope you see how easy it is to extend that standard Copilot, that standard agent that was deployed with some custom topics that we activate when specific things are mentioned. So for example, for Paris, it's mentioned Eiffel Tower, Louvre, and Marte, okay, great, right? You see that in action. So that's basically the extending that agent with a custom topic that helps a user to plan some traveling there. All right. And one last thing that I'll show before we break for the Q&A, we have 11 minutes left, 10 minutes left, is that I will now go and I will publish this Copilot, that Safe Travels Copilot, because I want to take advantage of using it. Right now, I'm testing it inside the Copilot Studio, but I want to publish it. That's number one. So it's going to go and publish it. So it's like right now it was saving it, but it was not published. So it could not be used outside of the Copilot Studio. So let's just wait for it to finish. And then I will try to make it available in specific channel, right? So in the channel will be Teams. Again, you can publish it on a variety of different channels. So how do I do that? Well, you go to the channels right here on the top, and you can see I can post it to my telephony system, my demo website, custom website, mobile app, Telegram, Slack, Skype, Facebook, all those things. I can make it available in my Dynamics 365 app, Zendesk, etc. Right? Because they choose okay, there is this question about how the user will authenticate to use that agent, and I'll show you the settings. So I click on the settings, security, authentication. You see that it's authenticated with Microsoft. In order to access this agent, user would need to authenticate with Microsoft. But I can also have no authentication. That means the agent will be publicly available, or I can use a custom manual authentication that can be used as well, right? So in this case, I can authenticate with Microsoft. I will click on Microsoft Teams. I will say, yeah, I want to turn it on in Teams. So it's going to do that. And you'll see it's a bit slow, and it's a bit sometimes doesn't really work exactly. But I will click on Edit Details. I will make sure that allow users to add this Copilot to a team. I say yes. I'm going to save that. And once I do that, again, I did not even have to do that. I need to open it inside my team. So I'm going to click on Open Copilot and say, hello. And we basically have this Copilot working, so we can do the same thing, but now from a chat within the team. So travel plan. It's going to activate this. Let's say we're going to go to, oh my goodness, England. Okay, not very creative. And let's say 5 activities for England. And we're going to send that. And so the same behavior we observed inside the Copilot Studio can be observed as well right here. All right, so that's basically it in terms of the demo.